the outskirts of a quiet town, there stood a house on Old Willow Road, long abandoned and shrouded in legend. Every Halloween, the locals would tell stories of how the last family to live there mysteriously disappeared decades ago, leaving behind nothing but cold, empty rooms. They warned that the house was cursed, haunted by something darker than mere ghosts. One Halloween night, 3 teenagers, Tom, Sarah, and Michael, decided to test the legend. They dared each other to spend the night inside the house. Armed with flashlights and bravado, they climbed over the rusted gate and pushed open the creaking door. Inside, the air was thick with dust, and the smell of decay hung heavy. The old wooden floor groaned under their feet as they explored. "See, it's just an old house," Tom said, though his voice betrayed his nerves. The hours passed uneventfully, but just after midnight, strange things began to happen. The temperature dropped sharply, and the faint sound of scratching echoed through the walls. At first, they laughed it off, blaming rats or the wind, but then Sarah noticed something odd. "Do you hear that?" she whispered, her eyes wide. They all fell silent. Faint footsteps echoed from the floor above, slow and deliberate. But no one had gone upstairs. Their hearts pounded as the footsteps grew louder, coming down the creaky staircase toward them. "Who's there?" Michael shouted, his voice trembling. No answer. Suddenly, the door to the basement burst open, slamming against the wall. A cold wind rushed out, carrying the scent of rotting wood and something else, something foul. The flashlight beams flickered wildly as the shadows in the room twisted and elongated. Without warning, Sarah screamed. She pointed toward the far corner of the room, where a figure slowly emerged from the darkness. It was tall, its face hidden in a tattered, black veil, and its arms were unnaturally long, hanging down to the floor. Its breath sounded like rasps of air dragged through dead lungs. "We need to go, now," Tom yelled, grabbing Sarah's arm. They sprinted toward the front door, but no matter how hard they pulled, it wouldn't budge. The footsteps grew louder, as if the figure was gliding toward them, and the shadows swirled like living things. Michael fumbled with a window, trying to break the glass, but it was as if the house itself was alive, trapping him inside. Panic set in as the figure came closer, its hollow eyes glowing faintly beneath the veil. It raised one skeletal hand, pointing directly at them. "Leave," it whispered, the voice low and broken. Or suffer as they did. Terrified, they ran for the basement, the only door that would open. As they descended the stairs, the air grew colder, and the walls seemed to pulse, as if alive. At the bottom, they found a small, sealed door covered in strange, ancient markings. Behind the door, faint whispers called to them, voices pleading for help. "Help us," they cried, over and over, their tones twisted with fear and pain. They realized, too late, that this was the last place they should have gone. The door creaked open on its own. Inside the small, pitch-black room, they saw nothing, just darkness that seemed to swallow the light. But the whispers grew louder, and a cold hand brushed Sarah's arm. Then the door slammed shut behind them. The townspeople never saw Tom, Sarah, or Michael again. Some say they became part of the house, just like the family that disappeared before them. Every Halloween night, locals still hear faint whispers near Old Willow Road, pleading voices trapped inside, calling for help that never comes. Trava na ponta da pena, vai, senta no meu palhaço.